Imagine walking down a busy street in the middle of Bangkok's central business district. To your left, there is a towering, ultra-luxury condominium where a penthouse costs millions of dollars. To your right, there is a massive, internationally renowned shopping mall filled with high-end boutiques. But right in the middle of these architectural marvels, sitting on one of the most expensive plots of real estate in Southeast Asia, is a dirt lot surrounded by a simple corrugated metal fence. And inside that fence, there are exactly 200 banana trees. This is not a community garden. It is not a city park. And it is certainly not a passionate local farmer trying to make a living in the concrete jungle. What you are looking at is a highly calculated, legally bulletproof financial maneuver executed by one of Thailand's wealthiest families. They are sitting on land worth hundreds of millions of dollars, yet they absolutely refuse to sell it to developers. In fact, they would rather plant a token forest in the middle of a global metropolis than hand over a single square meter of their family's dirt to anyone else. Hi, I am Daniel, and you are watching Asian Money Map. On this channel, we look at the hidden financial strategies, the generational wealth transfers, and the money structures of Asia's elite. I am not here to sell you a course, and I am definitely not a financial guru. I am just someone who is deeply fascinated by how capital actually moves in this part of the world, and I want to share those objective facts with you. If you want to understand how real, multi-generational wealth is protected, keep watching, because today we are unpacking the land monopoly of Thailand's richest families, and we are going to look at the exact legal and financial reasons why they hold on to their land so tightly. To understand why rich Thai families hold on to their land, we first have to solve the mystery of those banana trees. For a very long time, holding empty land in Thailand was incredibly cheap. Wealthy families could sit on massive plots of prime real estate in the middle of Bangkok, watch the value multiply year after year, and pay next to nothing to the government for the privilege of holding it. But a few years ago, the Thai government implemented the Land and Building Tax Act, which officially came into full force around 2020 and 2021. The primary objective of this law was quite reasonable. The government wanted to force landowners to either develop their empty plots, stimulate the local economy, or sell the land to someone who would actually build something useful on it. Under this framework, vacant, unused land would be taxed at a significantly higher rate. The tax on vacant land starts at around 0.3% of the appraised value. But here is the catch. If you leave the land undeveloped, that rate increases by 0.3% every 3 years, up to a maximum ceiling of 3%. Now, if you own a modest suburban home, 3% might not sound like a completely unmanageable number. But let us do the math for the ultra-wealthy. If you are a multi-generational family holding a massive piece of land on Sukhumvit Road, or Rama 9 valued at 2 billion baht, a 3% vacant land tax suddenly becomes a 60 million baht annual expense. That is a massive multi-million-dollar drain on your cash reserves every single year just for owning dirt. So, you might expect that these families would finally cave in, call up a developer, and sell the land. But they did not sell. Instead, landowners simply opened the tax rulebook, consulted with their legal teams, and utilized a very specific classification. The law stated that if the land was classified as vacant, the tax was high. But if the land was classified as agricultural, the tax rate plummeted to as low as 0.01 to 0.1%, with significant exemptions for individual owners. The government ministries even published the exact criteria for what legally constitutes an agricultural plot. You just need to plant a specific number of crops per rai. A rai is the standard Thai unit of land measurement, which is equal to 1,600 square meters. If you want your billion-baht plot to be classified as a legal farm, you do not need a tractor, and you do not need to sell your crops to a market. You just need to meet the minimum quota. You can plant 50 lime trees per rai, or, as is most common, you can plant exactly 200 banana trees per rai. Banana trees are preferred because they grow incredibly fast, they require almost no maintenance, and they survive perfectly well in Bangkok's climate. Almost overnight, prime urban land across Bangkok transformed into bizarre, fenced-off banana, lime, and mango plantations. By spending a relatively small amount of money on saplings, a basic irrigation system, and a part-time gardener, landowners legally slashed their holding costs by an enormous margin. They complied with the letter of the law, even if it bypassed the spirit of the law. Of course, the local government caught on to this. Recently, in August of 2026, the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, led by the Bangkok governor, pushed a new proposal to crack down on this so-called fake farming. They proposed an ordinance to raise the minimum agricultural land tax rate in the city from 0.01% to 0.03%. More importantly, they proposed asking the national government to lower the tax exemption for individual agricultural landowners from 50 million baht down to 20 million baht to broaden the tax base. But even with the city actively trying to tighten these loopholes, increase the financial pressure, and audit these urban farms, the ultra-wealthy are still holding their ground. They will gladly pay the slightly adjusted tax, plant more trees if the regulations change, and keep the land firmly in the family holding company. This brings us to a massive curiosity gap. Let us take a step back and look at the math from an average person's perspective. If you have an asset worth $50 million and developers are constantly knocking on your door offering you liquid cash, why would you not just take the money? Why bother dealing with the changing tax laws, the token farming, the local government audits, and the public scrutiny? The answer lies in a fundamental difference between how new money and old money view the concept of wealth. New money looks at a plot of land and sees a transaction. They think about immediate liquidity. They think, if I sell this dirt, I get $50 million. I can put some of it in the global stock market, I can diversify into venture capital, I can buy some tech stocks, and I can live off the dividend yield. Old money in Thailand looks at that exact same plot of land and sees sovereignty. They operate on a concept known as land banking. To truly grasp why they think this way, we have to look at the historical trauma that is baked into the DNA of Asian wealth architecture. We have to go back to the year 1997. This was the year of the Tom Young-gung financial crisis, which started right here in Thailand and sent shockwaves throughout global markets. Leading up to 1997, the Thai baht was pegged to the US dollar, and the economy was booming. Corporations, real estate developers, and wealthy individuals were borrowing massive amounts of US dollars because the foreign interest rates were lower. They were using that cheap foreign debt to fund rapid, aggressive expansion locally. But in July of 1997, foreign currency reserves dried up, and the Thai government was forced to float the baht. The currency collapsed almost instantly. It went from roughly 25 baht per US dollar to over 50 baht per dollar in a matter of months. Suddenly, companies that had borrowed in US dollars saw their debt double in local currency terms overnight. The stock market was absolutely decimated. Dozens of major financial institutions and finance companies were permanently wiped out and liquidated. Paper wealth, stock portfolios, and fiat currency reserves evaporated in literally 24 hours. The families who trusted paper assets, and the families who were heavily leveraged in fiat currency, lost empires that took generations to build. Many of them went bankrupt and disappeared from the elite circles entirely. But let us look at the families who survived, and who eventually thrived and became the major conglomerates of today. They were the ones who held unencumbered, prime real estate. Think about it from their perspective. Dirt does not go bankrupt. Dirt cannot be printed or devalued by a central bank. Dirt does not rely on a quarterly earnings report, and it cannot be liquidated in a margin call if you own it outright without debt. When the dust settled from the 1997 crisis, the land was still there, right where they left it. The physical borders did not shrink, and as the Thai economy slowly rebuilt itself over the next 2 decades, the value of that land skyrocketed. The Thai elite learned a very hard, very permanent lesson from that crisis. Paper wealth can be a temporary illusion, but land is absolute leverage. Once you factor in that historical context, the modern math of selling land makes absolutely no sense to them. Let us break down a hypothetical transaction. If a family sells a massive plot of prime real estate in central Bangkok today, they immediately trigger capital gains taxes, specific business taxes, transfer fees, and stamp duties. They instantly lose a significant chunk of their generational wealth to the government in friction costs just for moving the asset. Then, they are left with a mountain of fiat cash. What do they do with it? If they put it in the bank, inflation quietly eats away at its purchasing power. If they put it in the global stock market, they are suddenly subject to the volatility of global geopolitics, interest rate hikes, and market crashes. Instead, keeping the wealth parked in prime Bangkok real estate provides a highly stable, appreciating asset. Real estate in central zones along the major mass transit lines has seen consistent, compounding growth. The land value appreciates significantly over time, while the holding cost, thanks to our friendly banana trees, remains a fraction of a percent. The asset is growing infinitely faster than the cost to maintain it. But this raises a very logical question. If they never sell the land, how do they actually make any money from it? You cannot buy a private jet or fund a corporate acquisition with a pile of dirt. This is where we have to look at the Thai property legal framework, which naturally insulates local landlords from global competition. Thailand has strict foreign ownership laws to protect its domestic land from being bought up entirely by international capital. Under the Thailand Code Act, foreign individuals and foreign-owned companies are strictly prohibited from owning land outright. Now, to be completely accurate, a foreigner can buy a condominium unit. However, the law states that foreign ownership is strictly capped at 49% of the total saleable floor area of the condominium building. The remaining 51% must be owned by Thai nationals or Thai entities. But even in that scenario, the foreigner only owns the airspace inside their unit. They do not own the actual dirt underneath the building. Because the government artificially restricts the supply of land available to the global market, the domestic families who already own the prime land hold an uncontested monopoly. When a massive foreign developer, a global hotel chain, or an international retail conglomerate wants to build a flagship project in Bangkok, they cannot simply buy the land from the open market. They have to go to one of the elite Thai families and ask for permission to use it. And the Thai families will usually say, "Yes, you can use our land, but we will not sell it to you. We will grant you a 30-year commercial lease." This 30-year commercial lease structure is a massive cash flow engine for landowners. The foreign developer pays the Thai family a colossal upfront leasing fee just for the rights to access the land. Then, they pay an annual rental fee for the duration of the 30 years. The developer uses their own capital, takes on all the construction risk, and builds a massive luxury hotel or a high-end shopping mall. The Thai family takes zero construction risk and zero operational risk. They just collect the checks. Now, if you have ever looked into Southeast Asian real estate, you might be thinking, wait a minute, what about the 90-year lease? For decades, property developers aggressively marketed something called a 30 plus 30 plus 30 lease to foreign buyers. They promised investors that after the first 30-year term expired, the lease would automatically renew for another 30 years, and then another 30 years, giving the illusion of a permanent 90-year ownership structure. I want to share a very important fact regarding this, because this is where a lot of people, and even some industry analysts, get the legal reality wrong. There was a landmark ruling by the Thai Supreme Court, specifically Decision 4655/2566, which translates to the year 2023. This ruling became heavily discussed and analyzed throughout 2024, 2025, and into 2026. In this case, the Supreme Court essentially ruled that prepaid, automatic renewal clauses are void and unenforceable because they circumvent Section 540 of the Civil and Commercial Code. Under Thai law, the maximum statutory limit for a standard registered property lease is 30 years. A lease is considered a personal right, or a right in personam, rather than a real right attached to the land itself. What does this actually mean in practice? It means that if a foreign developer signs a lease with a Thai landlord that includes a promise to automatically renew for another 30 years, that promise only binds that specific landlord as a personal contract. If the Thai family decides to transfer the ownership of that land to their children, or if they move the land into a different family holding company, the new legal owner of the land is bound to honor the initial 30-year lease, but they are generally not legally bound by that original promise to renew it. When the reality of this legal precedent fully hit the market, it caused a lot of concern among foreign investors who realized how vulnerable their long-term lease structures actually were. There are newer laws, like the Rights Over Leasehold Assets Act, also known as Sapping SIF, which offers a slightly different 30-year structure that can be mortgaged or transferred more easily, but it still heavily protects the original landowner. Property developers have lobbied the government to legally extend the foreign leasehold limit to 99 years to stimulate investment. But as of now, the traditional Thai landlords are perfectly content with the system exactly as it is. Think about the sheer mechanical advantage of this setup. 30 years from now, the commercial lease expires. Legally, the land and every single permanent building attached to that land reverts entirely back to the Thai family. They get their prime dirt back, plus a fully built, fully operational commercial building completely for free. They can then renovate the building, take over the daily operations themselves, or they can instantly lease the whole thing out again at whatever the new astronomical market rate is 30 years in the future. By never selling, they have turned a single plot of land into a perpetual, multi-generational money machine. Selling the land would give them one large paycheck today. Leasing the land gives them a massive paycheck today, a steady, zero-risk income for 3 decades, and then a completely free, highly developed physical asset tomorrow. But there is one final piece to this puzzle. What if the family does not want to wait for lease revenue? What if they want to build a massive corporate empire today? What if they want to acquire a European retail brand or build a telecommunications network and they need billions of baht in liquid cash immediately? As we established, their wealth is mostly trapped in illiquid dirt, but they still do not sell the dirt to get the cash. Instead, they use a structural mechanism that is the foundation of how many massive corporate empires are built. They use the strategic power of cross-collateralization. The family holding company walks into a major Thai commercial bank. They take the title deed to their banana plantation located in the center of Bangkok, which the bank appraises at, let's say, 3 billion baht. Thai banks love prime domestic real estate. They view it as one of the safest forms of collateral in the country, far safer than stock portfolios or corporate bonds. The bank happily issues the family a massive, low-interest corporate loan against the underlying value of that land. The family then takes that borrowed tax-free money and uses it to acquire the European retail brand. The retail brand is a functioning business that generates daily cash flow. The family takes the cash flow from the retail business and uses it to service the interest on the bank loan. Because the loan was taken against an appreciating asset, the value of the land in Bangkok continues to climb over the years, often faster than the cost of the debt. When the loan is finally paid down, the family still owns the land. They still own the banana trees. And now, they also own a massive cash-flowing retail brand. They have successfully expanded their empire, generated massive market liquidity, and they never paid a single cent in property capital gains tax because they never actually sold the underlying asset. This is a highly optimized strategy for a legal environment where land is the ultimate anchor of wealth. Beyond the financial mathematics, this strategy serves a critical purpose for family offices. It is designed to protect the bloodline. In wealth management, passing down assets is not just about handing your children a pile of cash. It is about giving them a defensible structure. There is an old saying that wealth rarely survives past the 3rd generation. If a wealthy patriarch leaves 1 billion baht in liquid cash or publicly traded stocks to his heirs, an irresponsible 2nd or 3rd generation can easily squander it. They can make terrible venture capital investments, they can panic sell stocks during a market downturn, or they can simply spend it all. But a massive plot of prime land locked up inside a family holding company and governed by strict family trust structures and voting rights is incredibly difficult for an irresponsible heir to destroy. Quickly, you cannot accidentally lose 10 acres of prime succumbent real estate at a casino. Selling a major asset requires board approval, legal maneuvering, and a consensus among the family members. It physically forces the family to stay united. It forces them to manage the estate collectively, ensuring the wealth survives the inevitable mistakes of future generations. Now, I want to take a moment to provide an objective analysis of this situation. We are looking at the mechanics of wealth preservation, but we also have to acknowledge the broader economic impact. Is this land banking strategy actually good for the country? From a macroeconomic perspective, it is highly problematic. This system contributes to severe wealth inequality. It locks up vast amounts of capital in idle dirt instead of deploying that capital into innovation, technology, or small business growth. When prime urban land is artificially restricted and hoarded, the cost of housing and commercial rent skyrockets. This makes it incredibly difficult for the middle class to build wealth, or for new entrepreneurs to start brick-and-mortar businesses. It essentially creates a rentier economy where a significant portion of economic output is dedicated simply to paying rent on assets acquired generations ago. I am not sharing this to praise the system or to criticize the individuals playing by the rules. We are just looking at the cold, hard facts of how capital operates. From an economic development standpoint, it can stifle progress. But strictly from a wealth preservation standpoint, it is undeniably one of the most effective, resilient financial architectures on the planet. Those banana trees you see growing behind a metal fence in downtown Bangkok are not a joke, and they are not a mistake. They are the physical manifestation of a financial moat. They are a signal that the family who owns that plot is playing a game that spans centuries, not fiscal quarters. They are perfectly willing to look a little absurd to the passing tourist because they know that while the tourist is taking a photo of a banana tree, they are securing a financial dynasty that no stock market crash, no currency devaluation, and no foreign developer can ever touch. This brings me to a question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your perspective on this. If you inherited a $50 million plot of land right in the middle of a rapidly growing Asian city, what is your actual strategic play? Do you sell it to a developer, take the cash, and invest it in the global markets to build a modern portfolio? Or do you play the long game, plant 200 banana trees to legally optimize your taxes and lock the land away for your grandchildren? Tell me your exact move down in the comments, because I want to see how many of you are thinking like a founder who values liquidity, and how many of you are thinking like an heir who values legacy. If you want to stop watching generic financial advice and start reverse engineering how Asia's elite actually build, protect, and multiply their wealth, hit the subscribe button. We are going to keep breaking down these structures so you can understand the board you're playing on. Because remember, in Asia, true wealth is rarely measured by the cash sitting in a bank account. It is measured by the dirt under your feet. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.